Several years back, gentlemen, as you know, a lot of celebrities come out and they support certain people who are running for office. It happens all the time. I do find Susan Sarandon a very intelligent woman, also a legendary actor. She's won an Oscar. She's been around a very, very long time. I think she recently just broke up with Tim Robbins, by the way. They were married for a very long time. But I have a lot of respect for Susan Sarandon, and she has always shown her support for Bernie Sanders. I had a chance to catch up with her back in 2016. I was on another radio station at the time, and she was touring with Bernie Sanders. She's doing the same thing right now. So I had a chance to catch up with her, and I asked her, why does she support Bernie Sanders?
You know, this election is so special because it really has candidates who are completely different. You know, the choice is really not just about the candidate, but about how the government works. And I don't know when we would ever again in my lifetime find a candidate that has served so much time in the Senate, in the House, as a mayor, and has never aligned himself with Wall Street, has not taken any money from Monsanto or from Franklin Square Capital Partners or from all of these people that and these institutions that are undermining the progressive value and systems that I stand for. So, you know, it's a very, very exciting time because you've got this opportunity to support somebody who also showed an amazing amount of foreign policy judgment when he stood up against the war, who has been, you know, which is very important for me, somebody who has been very clear in his votes at the moment against, you know, going into Libya, has someone who sees violent intervention as a you know, a last resort, not something that you go to immediately. So for me, it was a very clear choice. I've been following his career and all the bills that he's passed and how he has been speaking for the middle class and the poor forever. And what he's talking about doing is, you know, it's FDR all over again. It's talking about jobs. It's talking about, you know, bringing Wall Street under control. It's about transparency in government. And I've seen him talking to people who have felt very disenfranchised and now are so involved again. And it's really inspired me when I was in Iowa to see people that want to be part of their government, are ready to get what they deserve and want health care and want education and want all of these minimum wage of $15. And I find him so practical, not at all. I don't find pragmatism is the same as cynicism.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And I want to believe that we can do it. I think that, you know, 15 years ago we were a nation who it would have seemed very difficult to overcome racism and elect a black man with Hussein as a middle name. You know, 10 years ago it seemed crazy to have the whole nation behind gay marriage, or to even give women the vote, or to desegregate the South. So I think that we've gotten away from this feeling of what we deserve, and we've seen a lot of our privileges, a lot of what we should have as privileges and not something that is our right. And now America's pissed off. Some of them are going towards Trump because he's speaking to the same kind of anger. And then you've got all these people that are saying, you know, we don't want business as usual. We're not ready to accept what's been going on and just preserve it and continue. We want something different. We need something different. And he speaks to that. So I was very excited from the very beginning. He's always, when I had questions about the war, and there were very few people who, in that very difficult time, that really, you know, shocking time for our country, there were very few people who had the bravery to stand up and say, let's just slow down a minute. No, this is something we have to think about more carefully. And he was one of those people. And for me, that was a big sign, you know, who said what. And there were other women who voted against the war for our belief, for instance. And I really respected those people who, when it wasn't popular, did the right thing, not, you know, said I'm sorry many years later, or with gay marriage came out when it was safe to do so. So he's a man who does the right thing when it sometimes isn't popular, and I just find that so moving. and so empowering, really, to think that someone could be in government and not be owned.
Susan, you should have your own political talk show. You're showing me up here. I think you're much more well thought out than I am. I got to say, that was very, very impressive. The thing about Bernie Sanders that I like, and you tell me if you agree, I'm sure you will, I believe he cares more about middle-class Americans than anyone else, including Hillary Clinton, including all the Republicans. But what does it say about the Republican Party, Susan, that Donald Trump, a guy that is a reality TV star, let's be honest here, is the front runner in the Republican Party? What does it say about the Republican Party?
Well, I think I've seen in Iowa, for instance, that a lot of Republicans were switching their affiliation to be able to vote for Bernie, and I don't want to badmouth all Republicans, because I think there are sane Republicans that used to vote to protect the environment. There used to be, and they probably are still hidden among the Republican Party, some decent people who haven't taken money from Goldman Sachs and the Koch brothers and are still pro-unions and everything else, because that's, Lincoln, after all, was a third-party Republican. So I hate to even think that Donald Trump represents all Republicans, because I do think there are sane people there. He has spoken to those disgruntled people who feel that the system hasn't been working, and they're right. It hasn't been working. Unfortunately, he doesn't offer any specific solutions.
Right.
And a lot of his solutions have normalized hatred and racism in this country. And, I'm not really that afraid that he's going to get elected, because if you discount women and you discount minorities, I don't know who's left to elect him. I think the really threatening thing has been that to the rest of the world we look crazy, and also that, as I said, he has made it okay to really play upon all these dark currents that have existed because of people feeling that they work so hard and they have nothing for it.
Sure.
When I was in Iowa, I was talking to a woman. She has 3 kids. She's working 2 jobs, and she said, "I will pay more taxes if I could get something for it. But right now, I can't afford my copay. I can't put my kids in a good school. So why should I participate?" And this is the first guy, Bernie's the first guy who's really looking out for my interests, and they can sense, because he's, his main contribution are $27, that the people own him. The one issue that he's been accused of being a one-issue candidate is the people. He is definitely of the people.
I agree.
And you can see that when you see him speak, people understand that.
Yeah.
So I think that people somehow think that because Trump, even though he's a billionaire and has gone bankrupt a number of times, I think something about that reality show made them think that he could be in control of a situation. And the fact that he's not being specific, they're just not dealing with. And I think people, when they have convictions, very often on left, right, middle, wherever, are very slow to listen to information which challenges their irrational connection to something. And that's what you have with a lot of people. But I can't believe that this was the best that the Republican Party could find.
Neither can I, Susan. Yeah, it
must be wringing their hands.
It really is unbelievable. I will say this, though. The one thing that I would compare Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders to, the one thing, is that they are bringing more young people into the political process. I do think that is a positive. I want to ask you a question, a comment.
Well, I think that, can I just comment on that?
Absolutely.
I think that one of the reasons that Bernie was so strong with millennials so early was that the press was not giving him any kind of coverage for the longest time. But they were online, so they were following the thousands of people that were coming forward. They're very savvy about his record. They care about the environment. They care about their civil liberties, and they don't want to go into another war. So they were hip to Bernie much earlier because they were online. I think now that finally, because of Iowa, he's getting more play and people can hear his ideas, other people are starting to come around because they just didn't know who the guy was.
All right, there you go. That is Oscar-winning actress Susan Sarandon. It held true with her opinions in 2016, and it holds true now in 2020 as she is continuing to campaign with Bernie Sanders. I will say this about Bernie, which, this is one of the many things that I disagree with him on that I think is never going to work. I think his heart is in the right place. I really do. But when you say you're going to tax people 50% that are making more than $29,000 a year, you got a husband or a wife, whoever the case, that's making $30,000 a year, and you're going to take more than $15,000 away from them per year, taxes, so they could have medical benefits. That is completely and utterly ridiculous. I will never vote for Bernie Sanders for that reason, and that reason alone. It's absurd, gentlemen. It's absolutely ridiculous. $15 an hour minimum wage is ridiculous. It's not ridiculous for the billion-dollar companies, but it is for small business. And, another thing I don't understand is this free college for all. What is he, nuts? Where's that money going to come from? It doesn't make any sense.
What's going to happen to the value of a college education under those circumstances? You're not going to be higher. What college will be worth more than another college? I mean, does that include law school? Is that just undergrad? There's so many different details you have to think about.
But where does the money come from?
And the $15 an hour, you're right. That would make sense for a company like a Walmart.
Right.
But it would have to be separated between up and coming small businesses, just like the tax revenue structure the way it is. It'd have to be if your business revenue is less than $2 million a year, then your minimum wage
JD, are you even a $1 billion
is $9 or something along those lines.
Let me ask you something else. Even a $1 billion company like a McDonald's, are you comfortable with a 16-year-old kid making $15 an hour flipping burgers?
Well, see, and they're gonna be replaced by automation very soon, and so you have to take that into consideration as well.
So nobody will spit on my burger.
McDonald's is not gonna. You're gonna see these major fast food chains like a McDonald's, probably not a Chick-fil-A, but like a McDonald's, a Burger King, something along those lines. You're gonna have about 65 or 70% of their workforce replaced by robots in the next 5 years.
All right, Chris Wynn is shopping at the bits.
Because Brian, I disagree with Brian on the $15 an hour thing. Okay, you're taking an approach. Your thought process is thinking about a 15-year-old kid or a 16-year-old kid making $15 an hour. The reason behind Bernie Sanders and others who want to have a living wage in this country, want somewhere upwards of $15 an hour, it's simply because of that. It's the people that work jobs that aren't exactly high-skilled jobs that aren't able to support their families. That's the mentality. That's the framework. It's not about, I can't have an American kid who's 15 or 16 who's a freshman in high school making 15 bones an hour. Can't have it.
What do you think
that's
about
not the approach that they take, Brian.
Chris,
that's the approach that you're taking when you say, I can't. We can't have this.
Fine.
We can't have teenage kids out there making 15 an hour.
All right, I get your point, but you're okay with 50% taxing people that are making over $29,000
Why are you making that connection? I did not say that.
We can disagree on the minimum wage.
And by the way, on that point that you just brought up,
yes.
What do you think? What makes you think that this is something that's going to get implemented? Okay, there's a lot of people.
He's running for president.
By the way, hold on.
He's the front runner of the Democratic Party.
Let me finish.
He
okay,
is definitely the front runner
let
of the
me
Democratic
finish.
Party.
You guys are acting like Bernie Sanders' proposals are something that are going to get implemented in the United States government in D.C. You know how D.C. works. There's checks and balances. There's things that take place where Bernie Sanders may have these pipe dreams, and that's what I'm going to call them, pipe dreams about what he thinks America should do and the United States should do. But this notion that if Bernie Sanders gets elected president, we're going to turn into Venezuela and we're going to adopt everything that Bernie Sanders proposes from a politics standpoint is ridiculous. It's not going to happen.
Right,
too many checks and balances in D.C.
I get it.
Well, you do get it because I'm telling you why you should get it.
I get what you're saying, but
it's not going to happen.
All right, I get your point. But
50% taxing
you're turning
rich
red.
people
Calm down.
in America, it's not happening,
but
folks.
Okay, Chris, that was a really good rant.
It was a good rant.
I'm very serious. I think that was very solid. Well done.
All right, we'll take some phone calls on this at 702-257-5396, but I will say this. Regardless of what you just said, whether it doesn't pass or not, whether it passes or not, here's the bottom line. The man right now, and this could change in a month, but the man right now is the front runner in the Democratic Party to be running against.
He's won.
Okay,
he's won
fine.
3 states. He's won 2 states.
Okay,
fine. Correct me if I'm wrong. They had 3 primaries or caucuses.
I don't want to get into
right?
semantics. Let me
There's been
just
3
say
of them.
this. Okay, calm down.
In a state with,
all right,
with 50,
I get your
states.
point. Okay, he won Nevada. Okay, does that make you happy? He won Nevada.
He won New Hampshire.
That makes me happy.
Here's why I say it. Can I just make my point?
Yes, you can.
Okay, he is very much a possibility to win the nomination. So with that being said, when you say something like you want to tax over 50% for people making over $29,000 a year, that is a reckless policy. Whether it passes or not is beside the point. There are a lot of people that will not, like me, by the way. Like me, I'm a middle class, middle of the road guy. I will not vote for Bernie Sanders because he wants that policy implemented because I think it's dangerous for the company. For the country. Let's take. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
And that being said, South Carolina coming up is very, very important for the Democratic Party. If you haven't won South Carolina since 1992, you have not been president of the United States.
Let's take some phone calls at 702-257-5396. Your reaction to the Susan Sarandon interview we just had. Your thoughts on Bernie Sanders winning the caucus here in Nevada. 702-257-5396. Let's start off with Jason. Jason, you are first off on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Jason?
Good morning.
Good morning, Jason. What's on your mind?
Good name.
What a waste of my time listening to that Hollywood freak.
Freak?
Talk.
What do you mean?
You're talking about Susan Sarandon?
The Bernie Sanders bros. Here's my question.
Yeah.
When is the facts that Jane Sanders bankrupted Burlington College using Bernie Sanders' fiscal ideas? When is that going to be brought out onto the campaign trail? She bankrupted a college using his fiscal policies. They had to close the doors May 2016
All right, fair enough.
because of Jane Sanders. Hey, listen, I don't need to hear anything that you have to say. I know all there is.
Okay,
I moved into this city
pot him
in
down for a second.
1968 as a
Okay, pot him down for a pot him down. Pot him down. First of all, get it right, Jason. I'm on the radio and you're not. I don't have to hear anything that you have to say.
No, he's talking about Susan Sarandon, Brian, not
I know.
you.
Okay, well, first of all, Susan Sarandon is an Oscar-winning actress. If you don't like her opinions, that's fine. You don't have to like her opinions, Jason. That's okay. But I respect her. You called her disgusting?
Robert De Niro is an Oscar-winning actor, and I don't like his opinions.
Well, I mean, he doesn't like Donald Trump. So, Jason, I'll pod you back on here. You don't. Okay, so
you're talking the whole time.
Goodbye.
Just kept going.
He was talking the whole time.
If you're not capable of listening to somebody,
Well, I don't think that because you do this a lot. You pod people down. You pod our callers down. But I don't
because
think
he wouldn't shut up.
I don't think they when you say hey pod
wouldn't
them
shut
down.
up.
I don't think they know what that means.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do next
That's
time.
why a lot of our callers they just keep talking because
I'll tell you what I'll
they're
do
not
next
sure
time.
what that means.
I'll tell you what I'll do next time. I'll just let him rant for 5 minutes and bash
I think you need to specify.
because that's much better.
I think you need to specify what potting a caller down means.
It means it's the only way I can get
because they just don't know.
It means it's the only way I can get them to shut up without shutting up. As you can see, that guy thought he could roll on for 5 minutes. I'm not going to listen to somebody bash one of our guests
and he kept
for
going.
5 minutes.
Chris had a nice rant. I had a nice rant today. And that was a good rant, Jason, and great name.
257-5396. Let's go to Kelly. Kelly, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, Kelly?
Hey, what's up, Kelly?
Hey, well, I'm an open book, so ask away. But my family escaped European socialism, and I know all the dangers of it. You want to talk about free college? In Europe, you don't get to choose what you become in life. What they do is they test you, and based off of testing in different areas, they tell you you will become a teacher, you will become a cook, you will become a ditch digger. You don't have the choice. In terms of capitalism being so evil among socialism, it's what you earn. My family in Europe own businesses. They were taken away.
Kelly, understood. But so let me ask you a few questions because we are up against the clock here. Are you?
Sure.
Isn't Social Security a part, in a way, socialism?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, I'm 45 years old, and I've been putting away in a 401k.
That's you.
Isn't Medicare socialism also?
I'm not relying on Social Security.
Okay, but that's you. Okay, but that's you, and not everyone is as fortunate as you are. Maybe you've worked harder than everybody else. I don't know, Kelly, but everyone's not like you. Social Security and Medicare is a form of socialism. I mean, you have a problem with that?
I have a problem with people not taking personal accountability and personal responsibility into their own hands. I think that there's a word called consequences, and I think that a safety net shouldn't be go and take your money and don't invest it. Live for today. Go to Disneyland. Go travel.
So everybody over the age.
So it'll all be there later.
So everybody. So hold on a second, Kelly.
My children to,
Kelly, hold on a second. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're saying everybody over the age of 65 should save up enough money. They should be okay for the rest of their lives. And you're telling me there should be nothing such as Social Security. Just wipe it clean.
Do you believe in extremes? I believe that there's an extreme on one hand and an extreme on the other. We do have Social Security as a safety net for those who can't take care of themselves.
Okay.
We do have Medicare for those who are low wage income earners.
Okay.
But why do we need to expand it to the point where the government now tells you what you should become in life as a career, where you live, how much money you should make.
Right.
And another main interest talking point here, which I never hear anybody discuss, is at least in Europe, we don't have, let's say, the amount of illegal aliens as we do in this country. Now, how are we going to combat those safety nets?
Kelly, let me just say, listen, I understand I agree with part of what you're saying, but I disagree with the immigrant stuff. We got a lot more calls to get to, so let's get to some other ones. I do appreciate the call, Kelly. Let's go to David. David, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, David?
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so 2 quick points. Number one, on the minimum wage. I think what's lost in the debate on the minimum wage is it doesn't matter what number you put on it. It will always be the minimum wage.
Right.
And prices will adjust accordingly. So when you make it 15, it won't be enough, and then you go to 20 and it won't be enough, and you go to 25. It will never lift people out of poverty. The only way to get out of poverty is to get a better job and to
David,
work hard.
David, while I don't completely disagree with what you're saying,
the only way it works is if the companies don't actually own their own products, and the government also controls the economy and the pricing of products and items, which leads to something totally different.
What I was saying was, while I don't completely disagree with what you are saying, I don't think it's out of the realm of being fair to maybe raise it to $11 or $12 an hour. Yes, I think $15. Yeah, go ahead.
That's fine. I mean, raise it to whatever you want, but it's still going to be the minimum. It's always going to be the minimum.
Well, it's by definition, yes.
Yeah, that's
obviously,
what it is.
yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And by definition, when you're earning the minimum, you're going to be poor. That's just, it doesn't matter what number you put on it. Second point is with Bernie Sanders. I think as Chris is there in the audio in your studio, correct?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
And Chris, you were making the point that with the checks and balances and a lot of the things that Bernie Sanders,
100%,
his pipe dreams, as you put it, and I agree, there are pipe dreams. And yet the Democrat Party base is supporting those pipe dreams. And I question, they obviously believe they will be implemented, and we all know it isn't. And as a party, kind of like you got to get back in line with reality, because you're voting for stuff that's never going to happen anyway, and you're going to lose.
I don't necessarily agree with the Democratic base, or the majority of Democrats are on board with a lot of the stuff Bernie proposes. I think that a lot of us, and I consider myself a Democrat, understand how Washington, D.C. works, and that even if Bernie Sanders by some fashion ends up being president of the United States, I think there will be massive checks and balances to his plans.
So, Chris, if Bernie Sanders wins Democratic nomination, do you vote for Bernie Sanders?
100%.
You do.
Yes, I do.
You do vote Bernie Sanders.
All right, fair enough. Let's go back.
Let's
go back to the phone calls. Let's go to Dave. Dave, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
What's up, Dave?
Hi, guys. Hey, just a thought. I'm not a Bernie supporter at all, but his plan for the college for all, everybody says it can't be paid for. 45 years ago, when I was in college, I had a professor kind of said it can be paid for completely. Okay, think of along these lines. There is no more free rides as far as, say, a college basketball player, football player goes in, he gets a full ride. No more. All the business owners that have success, no more free ride. They all go. But when they're done, along with everybody, say they have to pay 10% of their wages for the next, say, 10 years. Now that being said, look at the money that would generate by these football players, basketball players, baseball players, successful business owners. 10%, boy, that's a lot of money.
But that's not Bernie Sanders' policy. That's Bernie Sanders has never brought it up.
That was a plan that was submitted, and everybody laughed it out. But they never went as far as saying no more free rides for the. I mean, right now it's a scholarship. No more scholarships.
All right, well, Dave, that is an interesting point. I just don't think it's going to ever work. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis, you are next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on, man? Thanks for calling in.
Hey, what's up, Lewis?
Hey, JD. Well, first thing with the college for all, at least in Mexico City, there is free college. But guess what? My cousin, who's an accountant for Converse, my niece, his daughter's dream was to go to the equivalent of, let's say, UCLA.
Right.
Well, she applied, and she got a response indicating her grades were good, but a big fat thank you, but no thank you, because your father makes enough, you're going to be denied. So my cousin is pissed. It's like, what sense does that make? I'm paying for it. I'm paying for everybody else. and now I can't use it.
Very good point. Lewis, I want to comment on that, and then we got to go to – I'm sorry, Lewis. We're up against a hard break. I got to go.
And I know, so you know.
Lewis, I'm sorry. I had to let you go there. I apologize. But let me just say this. Very valid point. All of us in studio paid to go to college, and the bottom line is when you just take.
I did not pay to go to college.
Okay, well when you just let.
I didn't either because I had the GI Bill.
When you just say college free for all, what about the ones that paid? What about the ones that are in student debt? All right, we got to take a break, and when we come back, this is going to be very interesting. We'll take some more phone calls a little later on in the show. His name is Chuck Muth. He is a Nevada GOP activist. He voted for Bernie Sanders to help Donald Trump. He's going to explain that vote coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.